weird year, or at least for me it has, and I'm sure for many of you as well. For the first time in a long time, we're seeing cases where businesses are focusing and shifting dramatically towards the bottom line. In this talk, I will go through my experiences of how to manage this shift by focusing on the essential, managing expectations, and celebrating small successes. Let's start with focusing on the essential and what that means for a business and the software teams in it. Before we get into that, though, I want to briefly dive into the Rule of 40 principle. Rule of 40 is a common way to estimate success of a SaaS business. It measures growth rate against profit and estimates a successful position as if they add up to a total of 40. We can still achieve this number, but we have to do it in a much different way for many businesses. In the previous environment, many companies focused on growth at all cost. This basically meant if you're growing at over 100% year over year, you can not really care about profit much, because ultimately, in the future, you can shift that focus towards being able to be profitable. For better or worse, we're now in that position where many of those businesses have to start making that shift and think about that other side of the equation. Rather than creating new products to widen your market, companies will increasingly take less bets and focus on their core products, reducing scope, reducing operational costs, and improving experience to reduce churn. In turn, these will become more profit and more growth rates by proxy. This is a great opportunity for focusing on core engineering work. Ultimately, we've let a lot of things get away from ourselves over this period. Complexity has risen, costs have risen, and we didn't care for many, many years. Many engineers will appreciate the opportunity to focus on things like paying down tech debt, improve the systems, and work on core things, as long as you shift them towards this with the right mindset. Obviously, with this shift in mindset, we will have to manage expectations. During the previous years, there was also a lot of things that engineers would come to expect about their own personal growth and how they would be rewarded with it that would match the growth of these companies. Expectations are more often than not misaligned with reality, so this is not a new problem. Everyone has their own experience, and it's unique to what the specific company context is, but it's important for us as leaders to model a mental model that can help for engineers to have a path forward they're happy with. In the previous environment, we had many easy levers to pull. You could give someone a raise, you could give them a promotion, and in many cases it was both. This would happen at an unsustainably fast pace, many people getting these multiple times per year. With companies changing their targets, we can't always pull these levers. Because of this, it'll be difficult to keep people engaged. They will increasingly try to look elsewhere or feel like they're, out of luck because they were looking for this in the wrong time. So it's important we keep them engaged, give them a path that sets them up for success in the future. Ultimately, intrinsic motivators are always better in these cases. An engineer may want money now or a raise or something that gives them kind of an extrinsic benefit to their job, but in a down market, this can be harder to come by. However, the skills they develop over this period will pay off longer term. The industry itself is still going to be here, and when we hit a boom cycle again, the skills they develop now will give them the benefit of those extrinsic motivators. Work on your engineers for a longer career path that they can think about what their next steps are going to be and how they can be successful in the future with that beyond the immediate rewards that you might want to give them. Finally, there's celebrating small successes. With this shift towards managed expectations and focusing on the essential, you might end up in a case where engineers are very demotivated. It's hard to shift your mental model to harder times because inherently people want to be positive. They want to be able to work on things that motivate them, and they want to find success because of that. Because things will be a little harder for them, it'll have an emotional impact on the way they work. With all that said, there's still a lot of work being done, and it's important that we reinforce that with the positive feedback that it deserves, even if that work itself has changed from the previous environment. Things like improving operational costs or improving metrics of performance or even core experiences are still something you succeed. I've been in many companies where work that actually improve these kinds of systems was brought under the radar because people weren't excited about it as a new product launch or something that inherently goes towards things like stock prices. But it's work that pays off for a company in the long run, and we should be broadcasting that about our engineers. And if we broadcast that, they will feel more motivated in the work they're doing, and it will in turn mean the work they're doing is better and their output improves. So the key takeaways of this talk are to shift focus towards simpler, well-built systems which balance churn, growth, and costs. We're no longer focusing purely on growth, but instead these other two metrics that play into the overall success of a business. And regardless of what targets you have in the system, you have to think about these holistically as a picture together instead of just grow, grow, grow. The second is to manage the expectations. Many expectations have gotten out of control to what is sustainable for the health of a business, and this transition will be difficult for some, but there's still a lot of good work to be done in this environment. People will be happy if they're doing good work, and you show the structure and patterns to be able to set them up for success in that in the longer term. Finally, bringing positive reinforcement to the work is essential to keep people motivated and working well with their colleagues. Negativity is still a very harsh thing in a work environment and can lead to lack of productivity. So we should try our best to keep a positive mindset as we shift into these more difficult times. Thanks for listening. If you have any questions for me, come to talk to me after in the hallway.